Hi, I'm Carla Watson. I'm the Senior Community Worker of the Eastern Zone Community Center. When I think of Bermuda resilience and um, what comes to mind for me is that Bermuda, my country, is a very resourceful country in times of trouble, in times of turmoil. We will always find a way to pull through. The inspiration for our palette float was to honor all the essential workers in the island, all the essential workers that have done their part to help us through this pandemic, such as the grocery and retail staff, military, the nurses, the doctors, and the teachers and the students. Everybody that has had their part in helping us through this pandemic. The materials that we use for our float basically was wood and the palette, and we also used acrylic paint to create the design. My supervisor, Tiffany Painter, actually designed the float, and then I sketched it and I painted it with the help of my co-workers.
My name is Edwin Smith, Dr. Edwin Smith. I am a senior lecturer at Bermuda College. I am an artist. Bermudian resilience is a real thing. It's a defining characteristic of Bermuda. I think by being a population that lives in a remote area, we have to be resilient. But more than that, we have proven that we thrive, and not only thrive here, but we thrive wherever we go. The inspiration for this palette float was to look at individuals, and I chose a specific individual, one person, and this person is Earl Cameron. Earl Cameron is a Bermudian trailblazer, and this mini palette float is a tribute to him and his resilience, not only specifically for him, but for Bermudians who have left our shores and done well overseas. I've chosen to use bay grape leaves extensively, but I've also used eggshells, dyed rice. There's some cotton there, seed pods and seeds. So I try to be totally natural with the materials used in this float.
Hi, my name's Emma. I'm an artist and a yoga teacher. So the quote that I put on our float says, resilience to survive and resilience to survive. And I like that quote because, we've had a really hard year the last year, and resilience is on our minds because everybody's getting through that challenge. But that we can think about resilience in terms of how we continue to move forward and to thrive and to bring ourselves to a better, more positive, uplifted, recovered state post-COVID.
Well, resilience was the inspiration, but it changed a little bit. Like at first it was really based on nature and the idea that it's a natural thing to adapt and change and survive and come through things. But as we started making it, it became a little bit more about making something kind of modern and useful, I would say, just to celebrate the young people that have had a harder time, I think, during COVID and lockdown. We used stuff that we just had around the house. We had some plywood. Emma painted a lot of the illustration on there, just with house paint we had. We used some magazine pages that we took out of books and magazines, and some clothes pegs. And then Emma made a garland
out of felt.
Felt, yeah.
And we brought in some palm kind of fronds from the garden as well, just to add a bit of that nature theme.
Hi, my name is Nikki Goret, and I am a member of the Garden Club of Bermuda. And with 3 other members, Carol Sims, Rosemary Holmes, and Tina Miller, we designed and built the 100th birthday cake in flowers for the Garden Club of Bermuda and for Bermuda. Bermuda resilience means continuing, doing well, excelling, and continuing despite problems, despite setbacks. And that's what I think many people are doing right now, including the Garden Club. We are up our 100 years, so we did a cake for the Ministry of Cultural Affairs mini float competition. Since we're the Garden Club of Bermuda, we use flowers and foliage and leaves. We have New Zealand flax that surrounds it, a variegated form in yellow and green. We have asparagus fern. We've got pittosporum, various colors, beautiful 3 colors of bougainvillea that you find around Bermuda in people's gardens, and carnations and asters and gerbers.
Hi, so my name is Hannah Emerson, and I am the organizer for the Bermuda Sandcastle competition, which is held every year in September. And when I heard about the Bermuda Day Parade miniature float, I thought that I would be able to create a miniature sandcastle to go with this year's float. The resiliency for me, especially in Bermuda, is more of a mindset. It's how you overcome obstacles. So when people ask me as I'm building sandcastles, am I ever sad that the sandcastles don't last, that the waves and the tide are going to come, or that somebody might come knock it over? I tell them that it's not a problem, because every time there's an obstacle or something to overcome, that you then have another chance to make it bigger and better. In order to do a wave was really, really tricky. It's hard to find blue flowers. There are not a lot of blue flowers that will stand up. So I ended up taking a whole lot of old man's beard and dyeing it blue and becoming a bit of a Smurf for the weekend. And then filling all the gaps that I could with blue flowers that I could find from my garden, and then adding pops of color. I even tried dyeing banana leaves. Finding dried plants material that will hold up for a couple of days was the tricky part. The flowers are beautiful and are easy to add pops of color, but unfortunately they don't last.
So I'm Karina Rigo, and I'm a teacher at Kaleidoscope Arts Foundation, and we are an arts and garden school that are there for the community. Bermuda resilience means bouncing back from hard times, and I think that this is something that we really are facing right now with the pandemic. Resilience just means being creative in the moment and trying to inspire other people around you to come along with you and to get out of that situation. The inspiration for our mangrove float was the fact that Bermuda has the northmost in the Atlantic Ocean, the mangrove forests. And they're kind of the unsung hero in Bermuda. We always talk about our coral reefs, but we don't really talk about our mangroves. And they are just as helpful in storms and hurricanes and also in building land. They also house a diverse group of fish. They are a nursery. And just like our school, I feel like it's a kind of a community. And so we decided that the mangrove would be the best symbol for resilience, because it's just always being stable and creating life. For our art float, we wanted to represent not only the mangrove, but we wanted to use a whole bunch of different mediums, because that's what we're all about at Kaleidoscope. So in our float, we have a lot of natural materials, but we also have some sculptures that have been built on newspaper and tape and wire. We also have some fiber art. We've used some burlap, and we've done some felted fish. And we've also built some sculptures just using tin foil and everyday objects, because we wanted to try to use as many different things that we actually teach there. And all the leaves on the mangrove were painted and then decorated and put on the float.
Good day. My name is Denise Carey, and I represent the Registry General as the Assistant Registrar. Bermuda resilience means coming together to serve our community, no matter what. The materials we have used are natural Bermuda fauna. The inspiration was, how can Registry General press on? And so the overwhelming theme was that we have made sure to adhere to all of the requirements as it relates to COVID-19, but to move forward to provide all of the services. So the gentleman is actually holding up a COVID-19 virus, holding it back while we pressed on.
My name is Alandra Swan, and I am the proud P1 teacher at Francis Patton Primary School. Bermuda resilience means to me, when I consider that theme, on my students. When I think about them, they have been through so much in such a short period of time, and yet they continue to show up every single day with such a smile, with such an eagerness to learn. And to me, that spoke volumes, especially for me as an educator. I've seen a lot, but certainly their smiles and their presence, almost as if nothing has ever happened, certainly is such an example of what Bermuda resilience means. So the materials that we used were bay grapes. We started with cardboard as the foundation, and then we had our little ones go out into our school area around the campus and pick the dying bay grape leaves. That became the foundation for the grass that you see along with the border edges to where it frames the words. On top of that, where you see the grass, you have paper mache, which is actually made from book order forms that the children use to purchase books with their families. We built this tree that was made out of chicken wire, then laced around it was again that beautiful paper mache. And then again, thinking about that resilience, we had a lot of materials from our school environment with just the pom-poms, and the children made cutouts of themselves. We printed pictures of their faces. They painted everything. So I want to mention that they put this thing together.
My name is Russell DeMora. I studied graphic design, but as of lately, I'm a maker. I make all sorts of things. I've actually thought a bit about this. There's a time when we are islanders, but there's a time when we used to make a lot of stuff and fix things that were broken, and nowadays we ship things in. People don't fix things as much anymore, and they don't use their hands as much, and so I miss those times as the way I grew up. So resilience to me is really important. I think it is essentially what an islander is. When I was thinking about the theme and how to interpret that, something kind of cool happened. I went for a walk at Spittle Pond and I saw Jeffrey's Cave, and I didn't know the story behind Jeffrey's Cave. And I was pretty impressed, and I loved the location. I loved the way the rocks are, and that was the inspiration entirely for the piece that I made. And there's lots of details in it that are found on the location there, you know. When I was at Jeffrey's Cave and you look to the left, there is a profile of a man's face in the rock. And I thought that was amazing, and it is. It's also looking up like the strata in the rocks. And it was totally a positive sort of feeling. And I imagine that he could have been looking at that and feeling somewhat hopeful. And so I wanted to incorporate that in the piece. That was really important. Materials. I was going to use invasive species. That was my beginning point, but I went for a walk again. I like to walk apparently. Just down to Frank's Bay over there, and right in the corner there's a whole bunch of plywood washed up on the rocks from the hurricanes. And being resourceful, I looked at it and said, that's my material, that's perfect. There was so much broken up yachts, I think, for the most part. So that was the basis of the material that I used almost entirely.
I think that it would be really fun if we won it, especially because we have our kids that attend the Eastern Zone Community Center. It would be a fun way to let them know that we won. I think that the children down here would really appreciate it. I think the community in the Eastern Zone also, like our seniors, all our teens all our clients that come and use our center, I think that they would really love that.
It will be really a kind of a thumbs up by the judging panel that perhaps there's still an enjoyment for the use of natural materials, and perhaps an encouragement for, even in as artists consider floats in the future, to remain using natural materials.
It would be an absolute honor to win the competition.
It would mean that we did well and that we did a beautiful float, which we are very proud of, and we hope Bermuda's proud of, and we hope to get first. So we'll see. I'm sure there's a lot of beautiful floats out there.
So if my float wins, it really just means a lot to me in terms of sandcastles, promotion for our Bermuda heritage, for continuing a tradition that the Bermuda Day floats have always been ever since we were little kids. It's the #1 thing we love to go see. And being able to tie in all of our most favorite cultural events throughout the year, whether that be Cut Match or the Bermuda Day Parade or the Sandcastle Competition, I really just want to highlight all of the big events that make us truly Bermudian.
I think if we were to win, it would really show that we are representative of Bermuda, that we are a community, and that Bermuda takes art seriously and creativity seriously. And that was our inspiration point, was to be as creative as we could, given just everyday items. And I think that would just show that we have support in the community.
Winning would be amazing. It would reinforce how much the staff at the Registry General are greatly valued, not only by the community, but by us as well, as the employers, the Bermuda government.
I think this would mean for them so much because they've endured so much in such a short period of time. I think for their families who have also journeyed with us through this experience, I think this would be tremendous. I think in particular for them, because Bermuda Day, for them, their earliest memory would have been 2 years ago. And they were 3. For them, this would mean the world to them because they would have this experience of what it's like on Bermuda Day to build, create, and then hopefully win this competition.
Well, everybody likes to win something at some point, so I'd probably feel pretty good, I'm sure.